Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. I'm so excited to come to you today with my podcast guest, Kristin Ryan. It's a longer name than that, but that's the shorter name, right? Yeah, what is it? Kristin Ryan.
Kristin Ryan. That's how everybody knows me.
Yeah, and she's the member spotlight today. It's Friday, January 6th, 2023. So she's the first member spotlight podcast guest for the year. And Kristin and I know each other because she was a Fortune Builder student and I was her coach at Fortune Builders. And then we also know each other from JJ's mastermind group and just from being around and knowing each other through Fortune Builders. And she's very humble for how much she's achieved in a very short period of time. Just want to remind everybody, the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor podcast, there's two versions of it. They're always at noon Eastern. On Wednesdays, it's interviewing the top 5 percenters, the rock stars. And Kristin could have easily been on that podcast on Wednesdays because she's doing it, she's making it, she's a rock star on the rise. And then on Fridays, we do a member spotlight podcast. If you want to learn more about it, just shoot me a DM or comment in the comments below and give us your email. I'll put you on my email list. And we are in every week. We send emails out to promote the podcast. We're also posting the recording of this podcast in about 100 other real estate investment groups, and we're always growing. We're always adding more in real estate investment groups. But today, the first Friday of January, I'm so excited to have Kristin Ryan as my guest, and I wanted to welcome you to the podcast, Kristin.
Thank you, Rayanna. It's so good to see you and Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. So you know what? Let's start with before real estate. Who was Kristin Ryan? What were you doing before you became a real estate investor?
Well, it's funny. It's my previous life, and now I have this life. Two different alter egos, but primarily I was a mom. I have 2 girls. They're 22 and 19 now. I knew I wanted to raise my girls, so I worked part-time throughout their childhood. And I worked retail because the hours were flexible. I love fashion, so it just made sense. So I worked 3 days a week. They got a little bit older. They were, teenagers. I went back to work full time, and I knew that I wasn't going to make a career. I couldn't make a career out of, retail. It just wasn't going to happen. Just retail's changed so much over the years. So that being said, I knew I did want to do something as far as house hacking. My father and my grandfather had owned some rental properties. They were landlords, not on a large scale. So I had found, it was an Instagram pop-up for a 2-hour local free seminar on, real estate investing. So why not? It's free. It's a couple hours. I had the time. This was in beginning of February. Actually, it was Valentine's Day because I brought my daughter with me, but Valentine's Day of 2020, and everything had just kind of shut down. So I had the time, and I said, "Oh, I got out of that."
It seems like it was longer because I didn't realize that that's when we met. Is right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, literally. I had my.
It was literally before the pandemic hit because I was at one of the boot camps in Long Beach. In the middle of a boot camp when Long Beach shut down and we got the news about the pandemic hitting.
Yep. I was at full immersion training that weekend here in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was a Saturday, Sunday, and I got out, and it was just a very strange feeling. Very strange. So that being said, so after the 2-hour seminar, I went to the 3-day seminar. I wanted to learn more, and I had, kind of did some searching, some Googling and about Fortune Builders. And, there are a lot of skeptics out there. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sign up for anything. And I fought it the entire 3 days. And literally at 4 o'clock on Sunday, I said, you know what? No, I know this is what I want to do. I knew that this was what I wanted to do. It just made sense how it translated from like fashion and then like doing rehabbing with design and just like the business sense of it, which I love. I love the whole business sense of it. And that's really what like hooked me. John DiGiulio was my speaker, and hearing him talk, I was hooked. So I signed up and away my journey started. I knew it was right. And I jumped in every step of the way.
Now, how about your husband? Was he along for the ride with you, or
I'm
was it
divorced.
just yours? Okay, you're divorced.
Yep. I've been divorced for 7 years now. But we're still on good terms. We're friendly. And honestly, he has been really supportive, and I'll kind of get into that. But especially lately, he's been super supportive. So have my girls. So, yeah.
So you were a single mom,
Mhm.
being a full-time mom, working a retail job, and you go to this real estate seminar, and you're just kind of negotiating with yourself back and forth the whole time. And you just finally follow your gut and you're all in. Wow.
You just know. It's like
Yeah.
when you meet the man that you know you're going to marry, when you find the wedding dress, that kind of thing. You just know the house.
Okay. So then talk about the journey, talk about the journey of, how long it took you to, like, were you gung-ho, you jumped in, you just started learning ferociously? Talk a little bit about the journey in the beginning, and then give us the evolution of, and bring us up to today. So tell your story.
Okay. So I signed up it was like February, March, the very beginning. I had my full immersion training. 2 weeks later, that's when everything shut down. And at that point, I mean, we really couldn't, they were telling us we couldn't even go out to the grocery store more than once a week. So I stayed home and I just dove into the program. And I just studied and I got on webinars, and, they had the virtual boot camps, and I just did all of it. And I got my first property under contract by the end of May 25th of 2020.
So you sign up in February of 2020.
Yeah.
March, April, May, and have your first deal under contract in May. Do you know how extraordinary that is?
I have heard, and
you've been in JJ's group, you've been networking, there's people that have been studying for years and still haven't put one deal under contract. That's years of studying. To get to that point in 3 months, that's really something. So talk about that deal.
So I had it under contract the end of May, and that was that a learning experience.
I bet.
Yep, my good friend, and that is one thing. Well, I'll get to that, but my good friend's a realtor, so he kind of held my hand along the way. He introduced me to my attorney, who she and I hated her because she's a very strong personality. She's like, this is not how it's done, and you should have done this. And I was like, please, can you be patient with me? I did make mistakes. I said it was a cash offer. It turned out I was scrambling for a private money lender. I mean, I didn't find my lender until probably about 48 hours before the deal. And I was like, you know what? I know this is a good deal. I am going to make it happen. And honestly, my lawyer, we love each other now. We're very similar kind of in our, I guess in our demeanors. And we love each other now because I know she is fantastic at what she does. And she goes, Kristin, if there's anything, she goes, I know you just get it done, because when I get that mindset, I just will get it done. I'm very determined. So that helped me. I closed it the end of June, and boy, was that interesting. Yeah.
You had it under contract in May, but you closed it to start renovating it in
Correct.
June, or you sold it? You were done renovating it.
No. We had it was a 30-day close.
Okay, got it.
Just because of my, novice, I was a newbie. So I think we delayed it maybe like over a weekend or, 3 or 4 days.
And you were going to rehab it. You put it under contract to rehab it.
Correct. It was a rehab. It is here in Chicago. If you know Chicago architecture, we have a lot of brick bungalows. The city lots are essentially the same. You have a kind of a basic, could be smaller, could be a little bigger brick bungalow, and the lots are long and narrow. So you have a yard kind of in the middle, and then you have alleys, and then they have detached garages that are in the alley. So it was just a three bed, 2-bath brick bungalow, cute little house. It was in a neighborhood called Humboldt Park. And with Chicago, I did a lot of work on researching my markets. I wanted to make sure I knew different neighborhoods because Chicago can be so different from not just neighborhood to neighborhood, but literally street to street, and you have to drive it, you have to know it. So I don't, if I'm rehabbing a property, I will go before I even make an offer on it. I will go and actually drive by it because I want to see the area and what's close by. So
Yeah, I want to pause there for a minute because you make a really good point. It is so important when you're starting out that you get out there and you drive around in neighborhoods, that you do your research online, that you, even when you're new, get a wall map and start drawing out areas, price points in those areas, because crossing one street could make a huge difference in the neighborhood that you're in. It's really important that you know your market. Can't stress that enough.
100%. At this particular neighborhood, I knew it was through my research. I knew it was an up and coming neighborhood. It just was depending on what part of it. It's called Humboldt Park. And the next neighborhood over is Logan Square. And that's really, it's been gentrified, and it's really, the home values have gone up. So, and Humboldt Park is still,
on its way, on the rise.
Yes.
So that's a good place to invest in because it's
Correct.
transitional. Before you go on, I want to say welcome to Robert Grayson, Christian Weatherspoon, Gavin Watson, LaQuetta Rogers Brammer. Thanks everybody for joining us. Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
So keep going with your journey. So how did this rehab go?
So
you said you learned a lot.
I did. It went really well. I knew it was the right property for me for my first flip because there wasn't anything structurally we needed to do. It was pretty much cosmetic. It wasn't a gut rehab, but the walls stayed intact, but we had to replace bathrooms and
standard stuff, right?
Exactly. So, and as sorry about that. As soon as COVID hit, we started having supply chain issues. So here I am, and here's the thing too, with Fortune Builders and whatever program people are in, follow your systems because you're getting absolutely. Systems are so important as far as what you're doing, and follow them. You want to be flexible, obviously, depending on what's going on in your market or with, merchandise, materials. So you have to be flexible, but follow the systems because it really it navigates you. But certain things that I learned, like, windows at that point were really out, their delivery dates were really out. And I, of course, knew that we were going to be putting the windows in at the later part of the rehab. So I waited when I shouldn't have. So
yeah,
it was all a big learning curve. And honestly, COVID, anybody, I don't care how seasoned you were of an investor, you had to pivot in some way to, with everything. So I learned a lot. I made money. People were telling me, investors, fellow Fortune Builders were telling me, Kristin, if you got through your first flip and you made money, that's a win. So,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
So,
and the other thing is to dispel any fantasy thoughts you have out there. There is no perfect deal. It's rare, and I have had it happen with some clients. It is rare if you go through a rehab and it's smooth sailing the whole thing. I have had that happen, and it's rare. This business is about solving problems other people don't want to solve. They don't want to deal with. And so you've got to be ready. That's why it's so important to build in a contingency. And let me ask you how confident you are about analyzing deals. And that was your first one. And just how you are with, analyzing it, a deal. Talk a little bit about that.
It's kind of funny because my daughter is she recently is joining the business, and it's kind of evolving with her training. I'm trying not to put too much on her too soon, and we have just started doing the deal analyzer. And I said, I gave her a house that we were looking at that I made an offer on, it was accepted, but hopefully the papers get signed today. So that'd be a nice way to start the year. But I had her do the repair estimator just to estimate what needs to be done. And it's funny because she was right on the money and going through, and I went through. So I have gotten much better. I can tell you a lot has changed too, because materials over the last few years have doubled. So that's been a little bit challenging for me, but essentially.
Have you been updating your repair estimator to compensate for that and
yes,
for your market in Chicago?
100%.
Christian Weatherspoon wrote, our pivot was investing in multiple markets nationwide virtually instead of just in our own backyard, since the world became reliant on Zoom.
Yes.
So are you only investing in Chicago, and are you only doing rehabs?
So that's
And
funny.
I want to come back to this rehab, but I just
Yes,
as a
of course.
side note. Yeah.
So once again, that's part of being a real estate investor, is pivoting and kind of looking at what your situation is, whether it's the real estate market, whether it's the rehab that you're working on. And I knew last year, because the market was starting to shift, and I knew, because I am part of a couple of mastermind groups, which I'll talk about because I think those are very, very important for investors. And just based on what I was hearing, you could see the market was shifting. And actually, I would say my mentor, I'm part of his mastermind. I joined in September, and honestly, it's literally changed like
What mastermind is that, and who's your mentor now?
It's the boardroom. Kent Clothier's boardroom, and it has it has so much knowledge. He's not for everybody, because he is straight up. He will tell you like it is. He does not hold back, and for some people it's a gut punch, but I like that. He doesn't beat around the bush. He'll tell you exactly what you need to do, how to do it, and he will hold you accountable, and I love accountability. I want to know that someone's going to say, hey, did you do this? What's going on in your business? And he's all about KPIs.
I love you. I love that, because that's the majority of my job as a coach, is mindset and accountability, and just supporting people in between, going from mindset, not letting that stop you, to taking action, to then following through and building habits and routines, processes and systems, so that you can automate as much of that as possible. Yep. So nice.
That's exactly what, and that's another takeaway: systems and processes. Honestly, I could go on forever about all of it, but he has been, and it's only been a few months. And it was that thing too. I have been asked to be in masterminds before, and they just weren't for me. Again, scrolling on Instagram, I happened to see it, and I said, let me, check it out. And you have to interview for it. And you have to get through him because he's very selective. And I couldn't believe he actually extended me the offer, but that was in June. So in a few short months, I joined in September, and honestly, it has changed the game for me. I already know what my strategy is, where I'm going with this. That being said, I knew last year that we wanted to pivot. I love doing rehabs, fix and flips, but at this stage in the game right now, they're just risky.
Yeah, they are, because of the market's changing, interest rates. You don't know if the value is going to be what you analyzed, and then 3-6 months down the road, they are. So first, before let's put a pin in that, come back to that.
Yes.
Well, no, let's finish that and then come back to how that first rehab went.
Yep.
So what have you pivoted to, and why? Give the reason, your thought process of why you're shifting, what your logic is.
So the logic essentially behind this is the risk involved. And again, it's going to be in your, it's your market. So
Hang on just a sec.
course.
Christian, she's talking about the pivot right now. You didn't miss anything. We went off on a tangent. Christian Weatherspoon was asking, did I miss it? What was her pivot? So
Yeah.
she's talking about it right now, Christian. Go
right.
ahead.
So fix and flips is what we've been doing here into the Chicago market. I have a rental property in Florida, and we can get to that too. So yes, I do out of state, but fix and flips we're pivoting away from that. I have 2 that I'm finishing right now. They've taken a lot longer than anticipated, and I'll get into that also. But we're transitioning into just doing a bunch of wholesaling right now. So for a couple of reasons: A, it's less risk. B, the strategy that we're doing, the way the market shifted too, you're going to have sellers with everything coming up. There's a whole bunch of things going on with interest rates and inflation and, pre-foreclosures. People are tired after everything with COVID. People are sick of being landlords. They just want to get, rid of their property.
Yeah.
And so there are specific, when we're doing our outbound marketing, there are specific things that we are looking for. And depending on your market, like tax liens here, but honestly, in Cook County in Illinois, I don't want to, they're a nightmare. So right now we're looking at pre-foreclosures, tired landlords, and any vacant properties.
And just to wholesale, or are you doing any buy and holds? Because it's a good time to do buy and holds, and especially if you understand creative financing strategies.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about your passive income plans.
Passive income plans, I'm 100% on board. And that's actually what I'm doing. Last year with, the rehabs, I planned on buying, my goal was to get 2 rental properties. I did get one. I did not get the second one for reasons that I'll explain, but my goal this year is to pick up at least 3 more. And I'm also in talks with a fellow fortune builder who's a very good friend of mine. And we are in discussions now about partnering on something like that too. But we would only do out of state markets. I do not want to be a landlord in Illinois. Right now, Florida is big. That's where my one property is now. Florida's big on my list. We're also looking at Tennessee and Texas. So
are you looking for landlord friendly states? Yeah.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of, we'll get to that. So let's go back to that first bungalow that you rehabbed. Is there anything else you want to say about that journey, that process?
No, it just it taught me a lot. It really did. It's a learning curve, and your first one is going to be a learning curve. It obviously went longer than anticipated.
What did it teach you? Give some specifics.
So
I mean, you did make money on it, so that was a win.
I did, thankfully, and that was due to the market and how it, the market went up, the home values increased. So that was actually, because honestly, I don't really know. I did go over budget by about $48,000. Again, due to like materials, I mean, the prices are up. But it just taught me, honestly, the process, like, how you need to do it. I learned obviously on the design end, but then you'll learn things about like in what order, things are done, when you have to order this. It's just, even some technical things, I still don't like plumbing and electrical and all that, but it's just the process. And then you are going to learn too about things like draw schedules and scope of how to put together your scope of work. And now I can do that super, it's a snap for me now.
In your sleep, yeah. And because of all the practice, right? And because you studied and then you applied and you've continued to do it. So how are you, you're making the pivot to wholesaling. You're also going to want to build your rental portfolio.
Yep.
Do you have a team doing the grunt work for you? Talk a little bit about how you're making that pivot.
So that's another thing. I essentially, for the most part, have been doing everything myself. I have hired contractors, and that is something. There are a few takeaways too that I do want to talk about. But it's just been me, and I've had a virtual assistant, and that's it. I've been doing everything, and I have to tell you, it is, and I think this is a big reason why people kind of give up. It's exhausting. Your first couple of years, I'm telling you, you are going to, and I'm sorry.
You have to work your ass off. You really
Yeah.
do. And it's smart for you to be the technician in the beginning, because then you understand your business.
Everything. You have
But
to.
You
You
really have to, so you know what you're doing and you're competent. And also, if you're going to be leading a team,
Yep.
you want to be able to know how to train them, know if they're doing their jobs. But I don't know if you know this, but I am the director of a program called Fearless Investor at Start Virtual. And Start Virtual actually specifically trains VAs for real estate investors. And we have different levels of service that we provide, you know, and so and we just started to roll out a lead manager training. And what's great about that program is you can either go through that training, or you can have someone on your team go through it, or we can train one of our VAs to be a lead manager for you. We also have, the way the packages work is you get a cold calling VA, and you can get a hybrid of a VA that cold calls and text messages. And then we throw in client success manager, basically an ops manager,
Yes.
who coaches and trains your cold caller VA and basically manages them for you. And now we're also adding the lead manager training. And what that is either you, someone on your team, or a VA that you hire from us spends 3 hours a day, 5 days a week for a month, learning how to be a lead manager. So the cold caller would hand off the lead manager would develop it, and then you would get it once you're ready to, you know, make an offer and put it under contract.
Let's talk off, like off the podcast, off camera about that, because that is definitely something I'd like.
Yeah, definitely. And Christian, we're buying a lot of rentals in Florida. If you're not keeping something and looking to wholesale it, put us on your buyers list. But I don't understand this, Christian. It says, put us on your buyers list, Bradley, David, Butch, Garcia. So I'm not sure what that means, Christian. And then he wrote, in response to what we're talking about right now, isn't all the work to hire and manage contractors and flip a lot of fun, but so exhausting?
Yes, it's exhausting. And here's the thing, for my virtual assistants, there's a couple like touch points on that. So I have cycled through people. I'm on my third virtual assistant. And when I say virtual assistant, I mean more of like an assistant, like an admin, someone to organize my files and folders, because here's the thing is I'm going. I'm also like, I'm running the business. I am for years. And I can't even stress the importance of putting the right people in place, whether it's a contractor, whether it's like an admin, whether it's, you know, and I'm going to start building our acquisitions team too. So like cold callers and things like that. I'm on my third virtual assistant. Now I finally got, because I actually, there's a gentleman he's in the boardroom. His name is Eddie Rosefield. And I just he's a consultant. He owns a business called Team Architects. And essentially what he does is you hire them and they literally give you a roadmap for hiring the right person for the right job. And it actually goes into like, you're not essentially hiring someone. They could have a world of experience, but they just might not have the personality. So that was, and I, will be working with him as far as, continuing to build the team, because I finally got the right assistant in place. The other ones that I hired were from the Philippines. I think it was the company that I had hired. They weren't training them properly. I had to fire them. So anyways, I have a lady, she works part-time for me. She's 15 hours. She is the nicest lady. She has a background in systems, implementing systems, which that's exactly what I wanted. So now what she is doing is not only managing my...
She's your ops manager. So, yeah.
Essentially, yes. And she is actually going to be creating the system so that, you know, when we bring people in, if for some reason she leaves or she gets promoted, we have a manual built so that I don't have to train them, because that has been my problem. For the last 3 years, I've been chasing my tail because I'm training people. I'm spending time, money.
Yeah,
that
okay, so let me
I don't
interrupt you
have.
because,
Yeah.
this is something that's important, that
Yes.
if you want to transition from being a solopreneur slave, first you're a solopreneur and you're learning and you're being a technician. Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, you should read it every year. And it breaks down the different roles we play in our business. Any entrepreneurs, not just real estate investors.
Yeah.
First, you're the technician, the worker bee, you're making the product or delivering the service. You need to do that because that's what the business is centered around. So you have to be good at that first.
Yep.
And then once you get rocking and rolling and there's some success, now you want to delegate to elevate, and you have to move into that manager role. And that's a tough transition that a lot of people have a hard time with, because solopreneur slaves suffer from arrogance and control issues, meaning, and I say that lightheartedly, meaning a lot of solopreneur slaves think they are the only one that can do it like they do it.
I want to get it done right.
And that's not true. Where their weakness is while you're doing that process or that job, you also have to have another part of you that is this objective observer, and you are watching yourself, and you are now documenting every step, every detail, the criteria, whatever. And that's why I love Google Suite. I Googled, the whole Google workspace, because everything's in a cloud. You create folders, you have an ops folder, you have your policies and procedures, your SOPs, you have your team, you have your finances. So, from the beginning, if you're just starting out, start to do this right now. Start to watch yourself, and you're going to keep refining it and tweaking it, because you're not going to get it right away. And this is where a lot of real estate investors who aren't getting deals fail, is they're so afraid of failing. And Pace Morby, who's the king of sub 2 and creative financing, I love a phrase he has. It's like, create chaos and break shit. And it's all about failing forward. Facing fear, dealing with frustration and failure is part of learning something new. And you've got to document that as you're refining. And once you've mastered a role or a process or a job, now it's documented. And I highly recommend, if you are not someone who's good at that kind of administrative organizational stuff, doing what you've just done, having an ops manager, someone who's analytical, someone who thinks like that, can see that, can start doing it for you. And just even having, like you do, a part-time VA, where you're just telling her what you want, and then she goes and does it for you. Now, the next person you're wanting to add to your team is some, I call them little cold caller robot kind of people. And this is where VAs in the Philippines come in handy.
Correct.
And it is a high burnout field. So because it is a very monotonous grunt and grind kind of job, it takes a very special kind of person. And the Philippines is it is a call center kind of culture and economy. So they're used to that kind of work, but it's still a high burnout job. So what I say to people is, be prepared for there to be turnover on your team.
Yes.
There is going to be turnover, and don't think there's something wrong because there is turnover. You want to just accept that that's going to be part of it, because cold calling and doing it well and doing it consistently over a long period of time, it's difficult. It's high burnout.
But
Anything you want to add to that?
Yes, this is why you turn to people who are specialized with that. Why I would have you, that's why I want to talk to you about the cold calling, because we are starting our acquisitions teams, and I do want to implement cold calling. but this is like what I've learned over the years too. I have my CPA, she's phenomenal. So like she handles all my QuickBooks. I send her receipts or I upload them.
Yeah, I hate all the financial stuff too.
I don't like it
And
either.
I just
Spreadsheets,
had to,
well.
I just had to switch to a new gal, and
Yep.
she's awesome. She's just doing,
Yeah.
and I'm filing as an S corp. So like last year I got away with it, but the year before 2021, but in 2022, it's like the IRS is cracking down. If you as an LLC have filed as an S corp, you have to set yourself up as a W-2 in your business. And if you don't, they're starting to kind of come down on businesses for that.
They hired 87,000 new agents, I believe, right?
Yeah. So Christian just said you have to give up control in exchange for profit. And I'll add to that, as a solopreneur slave, you want to give up control to gain more freedom. In the beginning, you're grinding away and you're spending time to make money, but then there's a shift, which is where you're at right now, where you now are shifting. Okay, I'm making the money. Now I want time back. And you start to buy your time back. And that's what you're doing. Is all you're doing when you're building a team is buying your time back, because your time is now more valuable. You don't need to be doing $5 an hour work, $10 an hour work. Your time is more valuable. It frees you up. See, a lot of people don't realize that as solopreneur slaves, it's like they're afraid they don't have the money. You can have you can hire a VA for $4 or $5 an hour from the Philippines to do 5-10 hours of social media work for you every month. You can't afford not to, because you are forgetting how much is your time worth. So say a little bit about that. Rose Lopez is with us, by the way.
Hi, Rose.
And she's saying all that you're saying is so true. You are still a star. And
thank
Nanette
you.
Henry's here. Christian, several of our virtual assistants have been with us for over 3 years. All of that you are saying is true. They both are. Kristen, what are you? High level 2023. What are your high level 2023 business goals? We'll get to that in a minute, Christian, because I feel like there's a lot of things you've been wanting to say that we've put a pin in. So let's come back to some of those things. I want you to get up on a soapbox and rant for a little bit. Go.
Okay. That's not going to be a problem, Brianna. So I do have a few things to say as far as, like outsourcing. First of all, I want to state the importance and the value in actually getting the right people in place, because you're absolutely right. Your time, as you scale, your time is better spent doing like networking and marketing. No one's going to do that for you or your business better than you are. So I don't have the time. I hate doing it, like admin stuff, like folders, files, organizing things. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. So essentially I had hired the 2 previous virtual assistants from the Philippines. I was paying them $7 an hour. My files, I fired them. My files were a mess. I hired a lady. She lives here. She lives in Colorado. She has the most ridiculous experience. When she sent me her resume, I thought it was a mistake. And it's funny because she prefaced,
not worthy. I'm not worthy.
I mean, she had a master's degree. We're talking about
no, you're thinking I'm not worthy.
That's
like
what I was thinking.
She's overqualified. Yeah.
She stated that before I could even ask her, because I looked at it and I said she had a master's degree and she was like a systems like implementer at like a community college. And I said, I think this is a mistake. Well, it turns out that she's like kind of going like transitioning into, I guess, like semi-retirement. She really only wants to work 15 hours a week, but it's something that she was so enthusiastic. She goes, this sounds so interesting to me. I'm paying her $18 an hour, and I have her on she's on kind of a trial period. We have her on a introductory, the word is escaping me, but anyways.
Probation period.
Probation, thank you. Oh my goodness. Yes, thank you. And we're going to bump her up to $22 an hour. But you want to know what? She gets more done in one day than the other virtual assistants were getting done. She is so efficient. She, she reports, this is what I did. She is just, there are things I don't even have to ask her. You have to look at, I'm not looking at what I'm paying her. I'm looking at the value. In the end,
Absolutely.
I'm paying a few more dollars a week, but she is, honestly, at this point, I don't know what I would do without her at this point. And we'll talk about, what it is, once she's done kind of organizing everything and putting the systems in place, what it is that we can, have her do additionally. So, she doesn't want to do cold calling. She does not like to do that. So, and she's really good with systems. Like she's like caught on a real flow. Really
You've
quick.
got your ops manager.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that has been, and again, had I really consulted with team architects and Eddie ahead of time, yeah, there's a fee for that. But guess what? I probably could have saved myself time, money, and training, energy and training the previous two virtual assistants. So that's where the value comes. Instead of looking at how much it costs, look at what the value is in it. And you should look at everything that way, to be honest.
And it sounds like the value is, one, she's getting stuff done, but two, the way her mind works and her skill set is she's developing the processes and systems for you. And then what you're going to do is oversee them. And then you're going to put them into practice as you get your cold call, your lead manager, eventually a dispo person. You've got your acquisition team in place, and you're going to constantly be refining. And talk a little bit about that, where how often are you stepping back in your business and look and evaluating what's working, what's not? I pivot several times a year, and Kristin can probably say something about this too, to refine and is this getting us results? Because sometimes we can get in a rut and we can be just used to, okay, I'm doing this, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And every now and then I'll step back and go, we're doing this. Is it getting us any results? Nope. Okay, we're going to stop doing that. So talk a little bit about how, do you do that? What that process is like for you.
I do it all the time. Let's just say I don't really take a step back. I can feel it. I can feel when it's happening and when it's time to kind of, put something out. And it's a lot of times it's when I'm like spread too thin, essentially, because I'm like doing it. So now that I have her in place, now we're doing the wholesaling. So, I am actually doing the acquisitions. We're using launch control. So we're sending out our SMS text campaigns. We're going to be doing driving for dollars. I'm doing all of that right now. And Gianna, she's getting better, but I'll be helping her along the way. And then once she's comfortable doing that, then I'll be going, I'm the dispo person.
Is that your daughter?
Yeah. Gianna's my daughter. Okay. So yeah.
See, even that, the cold calling and texting, sure, have your daughter learn that.
Yes.
And then she can train the VAs how you want it. Now, there are different VA companies in the real estate investment space. Some of them are ridiculously expensive and they really don't deliver. And one of the things I like about Start Virtual is they put their VAs through a 4-week program, training them on everything real estate investing and how to talk to sellers, how to overcome objections. And
that's
their fees are very reasonable, and they have different levels of membership depending on what's going to work best for you, because your daughter's time is going to be worth more than that, and she will burn out. It's a burnout thing. So it's like getting a 4, 5, 7, even $9 or $10 an hour person to come in who does that grind for you. And Kristin's saying, even as a seasoned expert in real estate, I seek out how other successful investors are running their business. For example, Pace Morby. Pace, I don't know if you're in his creative finance with Pace Morby group, but you should join it. We dropped a lot of money to attend the 3-day mastermind and just copy and pasted Pace's model. Other than that, yes, we asked, should we continue doing XYZ this way, at least quarterly? And so case in point, that's why I'm here right now.
Mhm.
Christian. He's always on all my podcasts, and I love watching his too. And I
Well,
refer
and
him business, and Christian does what we're talking about. Him and his
yeah,
partner, Chris Steele, they're always refining. Like we have a client, I sent him a client, Andrew Castine, who worked with them for like the last year. And because Andrew is so gifted at refining processes and systems, and Christian and Chris were so awesome, they just developed this great relationship. Now they're all going to start investing together. But Christian and Chris, especially Christian, because he's the techie guy, Chris is more the sales guy, was really open to Andrew coming in there and me and giving them feedback. Like, look, I think we could, this system could be refined a little, be more cost effective for your clients. So, it's also just being receptive to feedback. I
you
do
have to
that.
be.
Yeah,
You're not a
with
business
clients, with friends that refer you business, and Christian's been really great about that. And I have been too in the Fearless Investor program that I oversee at Start Virtual. We have our first little pilot group, and it's you create a program, but until people start going through it, you think the concept is going to work until people go through it. And the feedback has been so valuable because I'm the one who can do something about it. So I'm like, no, give me feedback, give me the negative
I'm
feedback.
like that
And I
too.
think people are so afraid of that. Like, criticize me, please give me constructive feedback. And
I say
Christian
that
and I are really great with each other about that. But yeah, talk a little bit about that for
well,
yourself.
that's another thing too. I can tell you because I was an investor in another company previously, and I worked for that company, and I we parted ways because the CEO, he thought he knew everything. Your arrogance will kill a business. If you think you know everything, there is no way that you do. And that's why masterminds are so important. And I would be very selective because not every mastermind is for every person. So I tell you, there's 2 masterminds that I'm part of, coaching programs, masterminds. One is Amy Majori's, and I've learned that's private money
Her
lending.
private money, yeah. She's
Her,
phenomenal. Her program is excellent.
she's fantastic. But and then Kent's boardroom. But the thing of it is you are going to you have to be open to feedback, because you are going to see people are at a much higher level than you are. So like, there are people who come up to me and they say, oh, you've done so much. I go to the mastermind meetings. When I tell you, I am the smallest fish in an ocean.
Well, those are the only masterminds you want to be in. You've got to, if you want to fly like an eagle, you can't hang out with turkeys. You've got to be around people that are better than you. I was, yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yep.
Keep going.
I just want to say, you want to be literally the least successful and the brokest person in that room, because you're going to get the most value, and it's going to force you to level up, forces you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else? What are some of the other little pinpoints? Oh, we'll get to that. So let's get to those now.
So there is something that I do want to stress, and I will tell you, 2022, I want to touch on what you said about failure. There's not one successful high level investor, entrepreneur that has not failed. And it almost, you'll see that in, TED Talks and all this stuff. It is true. It is 100% true. And until you go through it, you don't know. 2022 has been the hardest year so far. I can't even tell you. I'll just touch on it a little bit. I can't really talk about it, but basically these 2 rehab projects that have gone way over time, way over budget. I had some really bad contractors. They weren't just contractors. They were like acquaintances, like friends that we had talked about doing business together, and
who aren't friends anymore.
Oh no, when I tell you they screwed me royally, it's very bad. It's really bad. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're talking like lawsuits right now. And it has been, I can't even tell you, there 2 things. Without a doubt, my mindset was, I don't care what it takes, I'm going to get through it. And when you have that mindset, everything changes. I'm telling you, it has been, I've had,
you have to be resilient and determined and be able to persevere, because everything is
Yep.
temporary, and you can't get people who are really successful fail more than people that
Yes.
stay
Yeah.
down. You know,
Yes.
you just got to keep bouncing back.
And-
So and you're still in some of that from 2022.
Yeah. And I feel
I'm
like,
sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's been really tough. I feel like I'm kind of like coming like to the end of it, thankfully. But again, it's been a lot of pivoting. It's been a mindset, like, you know, it's, in the end, I'm proud of myself because I knew that I was going to pull myself out of this, and I was not. It's not about like failure. It's about like not giving up, essentially. There was one thing, and I will tell you again, it's the groups that you're in and your networking. But there was something, you know, sometimes, not too often, but sometimes I'll hear something and it sticks with me, and I'll tell you it was something that Kent had said, and he said, you know what, you don't have any excuses. He goes, it's not about the resource. There are resources out there. It's not about the resources. It's about being resourceful. And
Absolutely.
you're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to find what it is that you have to do. Everything will change after that. It will. So there's value in that. And you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be always willing to learn. I've learned more in the last 3 years than I've learned my entire life.
You have to be determined. You have to persevere.
Yep.
You've got to have a problem solver mindset.
Yes.
You know, you've got to be fearless or courageous.
Yes.
Either fearless, like without fear. And a lot of people aren't that. I happen to be I don't have a lot of fear. I'm not a very fearful person. Or you're courageous. You're someone who doesn't let fear stop you. You feel it, but you go forward anyway, and you take action and you face the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, that's overcoming fear. It's not backing down or going around it. It's actually like hitting it head on and dealing with it and getting past it. And I know it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard. A lot of why I did it was because I wanted to be a good example for my girls. So again,
and you're being a very inspiring example right now. Like Kristin just wrote, new and seasoned investors need to see this because it's real. The struggle is real, and you're surviving it, and you're bouncing back, and grace under pressure. And the reason I love this podcast, which has kind of become my thing that I love so much, is one, I learn a lot from other investors, but also I love hearing people's stories. And I really like people, and I love hearing their stories, and I love providing the platform for that. But I think the reason this Member Spotlight podcast on Fridays is so important is just to make it real. Like, look, this is real. You know, you don't become a rock star and super successful at anything without the struggle, but you're seeing someone at the top of their game, but you haven't heard the story, what got there. And this is why I love this podcast, because I hear stories of, like you, of people bouncing back who have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and still that didn't stop them. They found another way. There was a guy I interviewed a few weeks ago who came to this country. I think he was Chinese, and he came to this country without speaking English to go to college. And his parents and him were ill prepared and misinformed. He came to this country with $3,000, thinking that was going to cover all of his college expenses for the entire 4 years. And he made it through one semester and had to think on his feet. The first few attempts to get into real estate investing failed. He ended up landing on land, and that's been his thing. And it wasn't an easy journey, but the guy was just determined and going to survive and do whatever it took. It takes effort. It isn't easy. It doesn't just get dropped in your lap. Real estate investing is not a get rich quick. Far from it. It takes a lot of work and effort. Anything you want to say about that?
No, it's hard. And that's the thing. It's your mindset. That's what's going to get you through it, because it goes full circle as to, when you first start and you go through these, seminars, what's your why? That why is important. It's going to be important to you throughout the entire journey.
Absolutely.
Yep. And everybody does see that's why I did want to, say this, because a lot of people, it took me a while to share this with people because, whether it's like pride or, embarrassment or whatever, but two things, I can't even tell you the value and what I've learned. And the funny thing is I followed all the systems. It was a trust thing. And now I just have.
You can follow all the systems and do everything right and still fail because you get screwed by a contractor or the market shifts or, all kinds of things can happen. That's why it is so important to follow processes and systems and rinse and repeat, because then all your attention is spent on the unexpected and the problems that come up, and you can give them your full attention. If you're disorganized and you should, like, you probably go into a rehab, and every rehab you approach it the same way, but every rehab has its own set of problems. But because you've got processes and systems and a routine, the thing that rises to the top is the unusualness of that project, so that can get your attention. It's not lost in the just the
Correct.
disorganized chaos, because you're like, oh nope, this is something a little different. Oh, we got to deal with
you'll
this.
never survive if you don't have the systems and
Right.
and honestly, that was the whole reason why I joined Fortune Builders to begin with, because they did have the systems in place. Otherwise, forget it. So that's important. But my takeaway too, and I have so many, but that just shows you how important it is to be surrounded by the right people. And as
Absolutely.
part of that was, I have really, through all the difficulty, I've really seen who has stuck by me, who has been supportive of me, who's been wanting to help me, and who hasn't. And that's a big, big thing. So yeah.
That is a big thing, because you are going to, when you start to level up your business and your life, you are going to, you're going to end relationships. Relationships are going to come and go because you're outgrowing them. And our lives and who we are and our bank accounts reflect the company we keep. And that's why masterminds are so important, and being the low man on the totem pole there, because it's best to be around people that are going to keep challenging you to be better. And so get comfortable being uncomfortable. Is what
I
you
love
need
that.
to do. Yeah, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because then you're learning, you're growing. And talk about that, the shift in relationships, because even though I can say that and you're like, okay, I get it. It's harder said than done. I mean, I've had to do that with family members, like, wow,
Yes.
this relationship holds me back, or I pay attention, like, how do I feel mentally, emotionally, in my body, even being around certain people? It's like, whether they're family, whether they're friends or whatever, you've got to be willing to let go. Absolutely.
Energy
You've
and
got to
body.
be willing to let go to go to the next level. Because here's the thing, when you let go of relationships that no longer serve you, it creates a void, and the universe abhors a vacuum and it rushes to fill it. And now you'll see, now you've made space in your heart and your life energetically for better, more evolved, more appropriate people and relationships to fill that space. Anything you want to say about that?
No, it's true. It forces you. You see people that have their success and their level of success, and you do feed off that energy when they talk about what it is that they've accomplished or what they're doing right now. And you're like I leave these masterminds literally with like a fire under me. Like, that it's intense, but it's fantastic. And I come back and I am more motivated than ever. And everything that I've learned, I write it down and I'm like, this is what we're implementing this week. This is what we have quarterly masterminds.
There's the key right there that
Yeah.
you do, that in order for you to be successful in this business, you need to learn and then implement.
And do it right away.
And you need to do it right away.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So
Anything else that
I don't think so. I think
lingering? Okay.
I could go on
All
for
right.
hours, but that's maybe.
Yes, I'm sure we could. So I want to go back to a question that Christian asked, and that's, what are your goals for 2023? What do you want to achieve in your business this year?
So, yeah, that was the first thing.
You want to
actually.
build a team.
Yes, it's funny because a lot of people take that week off, but the week between Christmas and New Year's, I really buckled down. I got a ton of work done. It's nice and quiet. And I sat there and I set my 2023 goals. I really, really thought about them. I over the course of, the last few weeks, I had an idea, but, for obvious reasons, my first goal is these 2 rehab projects. One
Just
of them
to get them done. Yeah.
finished. One of them, I'm probably a week out from getting it on the market. Thank God. I have a few things to take care of, but that one will be done. The other one, I'm trying to figure out what my exit strategy is with it. I've talked with my lenders to see, what works for them. So those are the first 2 things. The second thing is, obviously we want to get going with acquisitions and wholesaling. We've actually with our marketing, we're getting a lot of text messages out there. We're talking to a lot of people. We're starting to build up our pipeline, which is going to be huge because we're putting people on drip campaigns. And, as we get further into the year, stuff's going to happen. And that was another thing too. A lot of people take December off, they kind of slow down. We did not do that. We were all in for it. So now we're going into the new year with,
Gung-ho.
built up. Exactly. Especially since we're starting. Bless you.
Thanks.
So yes.
Talk about some concrete goals. You planned, you're a go-getter, got the fire in the belly.
Yep.
But SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time framed. You said you want to acquire 3 rentals this year.
3 rental properties this year. We want to do 2 to 3 wholesales per month right now at this point.
Do you have an income goal?
At this point, Rayana, I haven't paid myself in so long that my income goal, I would be happy with anything at this point. Honestly, I haven't paid myself. So, income goal, I would rather put the money into the business and scale the business. But yes, my income goal, let's just say $30,000.
Well, I'm talking gross. So gross revenue. What's your gross revenue?
Oh, you're talking about for the business.
Yeah,
okay.
Gross revenue goal.
My gross revenue goal, I mean, I'd like to hit $150,000. And even, I honestly think we can do a lot more than that.
I think you can.
I think
so.
Well,
that's you. All right, look, I know you're in a mastermind, but I want you to take to this mastermind. So as a previous coach of yours, can I give you a little nudge on this?
please.
You are thinking way too small.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking gross revenue, 150 gross revenue. When you figure, let's take 30% for taxes and probably 20 to 30% at least for operational costs. You're looking at 50% if you're lucky that you're going to net. So you only want to net 75,000 this year. It's not enough. And especially for who you are and how you're speaking and experience you've had, these first 2 years have been your paying your dues years. This is your year for momentum. And if you're in a couple of masterminds, going for 150 gross revenue is just you are capable.
I haven't really thought about. I didn't really put a number on my revenue to be honest.
That needs to be part of your goals.
So, okay.
Yeah. All right. So Christian's even saying, well, first, thanks, Nanette. Nanette, your interview a few weeks ago was just as inspiring as this one with Kristin. Do you know Nanette Henry, Kristin?
No,
Have
I
you
don't
seen it?
know.
She wrote, "Every failure came with a success story." This podcast show is an inspiring. The stories are, and the reality of what is exactly the road to success. Christian Ryan, you are amazing. And then Christian wrote, "I was thinking of the same thing, Rayana. Christian was thinking too small. Kristen
I know.
was thinking too small, and she can crush it and go way above and beyond that." Sorry, not picking on you, Christian. Christian.
Trust me.
I want to throw, when you think gross revenue,
Give me a number.
yeah, Christian, tell me what you think, but I think you need to shoot for minimum 250 gross
Perfect. That's my
revenue.
number.
And I want you to shoot between 250 and 500. Shoot. Miles Davis, write this down. Miles Davis said, "Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss it, you'll land among the stars." So look, I'm one who's all about setting goals that are big. Christian's thinking even bigger, 1.2 million.
Really?
Gross.
Wow. Okay. Well, how
Yeah,
about this?
look, all right, so look, to do,
No,
all right,
I'll
just
let
to
come
give you,
back.
all right, so let's
Yeah.
break down the numbers, and we're going way over, but I love it, it's
Yep.
great.
That's
Um,
$100,000 a
all right.
month.
All right.
Right.
To do 1.2, yeah, you're doing 100K a month. Okay, so let's, and sometimes that can be like, whoa, I can't see it because I'm not there. If you're doing 2 to 3 wholesales a month, and are you doing them are you sticking to Chicago, or are you going around the
Right
country?
now here. Yeah, right
Okay,
now.
all right. So in Chicago market, it's very reasonable to expect.
I'd have to do 35,000 each for, if I do like, 3 deals, 2 to 3 deals.
Let's just say you're averaging 10K for wholesale, and like have that be a criteria that you're not going to do wholesales unless you make 10K.
15 is our
Okay.
minimum.
Okay, 15 is your minimum. Great, 15K, because it's the same amount of work to make 5K as it is 15. So there's your, and same thing with rehabs and flips. When you start doing those again, at Fortune Builders, they say their minimum criteria was 30K. I'm like, that's not enough money to go through all that work. It needs to be 50K. So
That's what
you've
mine
got to
was.
come up what your criteria is. So let's just say you're making 15K per wholesale. And let's just say conservatively, you're closing 2 wholesales a month. So you're averaging 30K a month. That right there is 360,000 for the year.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, that just 2 wholes. All right. So now let's add, you get your 3 rentals, and let's just say you're going to do the 1% rule. And, so let's just say, what's the minimum? Not that anyone asked me, but Christian, consider virtual wholesaling in markets where the average wholesale profit is greater, like California. I mean, you can do 20, 30 grand wholesale fees, but 15 grand isn't bad, especially in this market right now, which is a little moody.
Right.
But let's just say, so it's believable, Christian. I want this to be believable so that you get the seed gets planted and you start tending to it. I want you to start watering this. So we've just gotten you to 360K, just closing 2 wholesales at 15K each. Okay.
Yep.
So now you're going to get rentals. Rentals are going to develop passive income, but you're probably going to roll that into compounding to start paying them off. But if you don't, let's just say conservatively, you're making $300 net profit above and beyond the mortgages with each of your rentals. And you already have a rental. So you have 4 rentals. So you're making $1,200 a month on your rentals, $1,200 a year, 12,000, and another. So let's just round it up to 14K. Okay. So now we're at 375,000. I mean, and that's not the only thing you're going to do. Our Christian's saying his average wholesale in San Diego is 35K.
Ooh. Yeah.
Okay. I probably need to introduce you and Christian to each other.
I don't know him formally, but he's familiar to me.
Yeah. Christian was at Fortune Builders, like really for almost at the beginning of it, pretty much. And for a long time, he's like brilliant with technology. I mean, he's just a brilliant guy in general. He's just super smart. really got great people skills, but he's really technical too. And he really does his homework. I mean, he gets in there and digs in.
Yeah.
And so when he talks, he's not talking out of his butt. He's like, he knows what he's talking about. He doesn't share stuff unless he really knows what he's talking about. So
Yeah, I'd love to
he
connect.
he and his partner Chris Steele, they're just monsters when it comes to what they're doing with their investing. And then they realized while they were marketing for their own deals, they developed a marketing system, and now they help other investors. And I've referred them lots of clients for setting up the whole marketing for you, setting up the CRM, setting up launch control. He's a big fan of launch control.
I use launch control.
Managing the VAs, and they just do texting campaigns, and they do market research. They pull the lists for you. They skip trace, and they do everything. So it's more like they're an agency rather than you building your own team. Now, I would say right now, build your own team, because you should have experience in that. You're shifting from being the technician to being a leader. But if you want, I can set up for you and Christian to talk to each other, because I want you to learn from him. And he's generous like I am with his time, with his information. And, you know, he's thanking me because I always schmooze him when he's on here, because he supports me, I support him. But, you know, there's a lot you can learn from him and Christian's kind of the one running the business, but Chris Steele, we were all at Fortune Builders together. And Chris Steele is crazy talented at talking to sellers and sales. So they are two people that you want to, they're eagles. You want to, you know, add to your flock. FYI, in our own business, we're marketing with SMS, cold calling, Facebook, and on-market offers with Privy. I mean, so that's another thing I want to say to everyone is, don't be a one-trick pony. You want to diversify, especially in a shifting market and a recession and interest rates and inflation and all that. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, you want a seller outreach campaign, but in places like Arizona, an agent outreach campaign is more effective. You want to do off market, on market. There are some of my clients that are shifting from direct seller outreach to agent campaigns, you know, and so Chris Deal is known by Pace Morby as Chris closes your deal. And yes. So I'll connect you guys. Hey, Christian, do you want me to connect you guys in a DM and Messenger, or do you guys want me to introduce you via email? What would be your preference, Kristen?
Email for me, because
email for you. All right. So Christian, I'm going to email you and Kristen, you know, a little intro, and then you guys can take it from there. You definitely want Chris and Christian in your network.
Well, and this just, I do want to make a point. So because I started and I've been doing the rehabs, this is new for me. So with the wholesaling, so I am still learning. I am basically a novice. So I am learning too. And I do want to build my team, because I want to have this whole like acquisitions thing, like a monster running.
You want an automated machine.
Exactly. Yeah. But this just goes to show, like, I have, it's funny because literally I got my first wholesale deal under contract yesterday. So I've had to reach out.
Yay.
See, and that's
so now the pot of gold at the end of the wholesale rainbow is you can't just buy a buyer's list from Match Leads, or you just collecting names. You know, the best way to be successful at wholesaling is consider yourself the concierge of the deal. You've got to be really good at communicating. You got to know your numbers. You got to really be taking care of everybody in the deal. You've got to be really got great rapport with the seller, be in letting them know what's going on. So many wholesalers suck because they don't communicate, and they're really scrimpy on their numbers, and they get greedy. The other thing with wholesaling is you can be an acquisition wholesaler, and that's what you do. And now you JV that wholesale and you sell it to another wholesaler, and they dispo it for you. They're disposition. So now they're now selling it to the end buyer. or you need to get good at networking with other investors and finding a good. I would rather you only have 5 or 10 buyers rather than a list of 400 that you have relationships with, because it only takes having a handful of really good buyers, especially if they're a hedge fund or whatever that really want, hey, I'll take everything you have because they've realized you're going to bring them good deals. So Chris and Christian do an insane amount of and consistently insane amount of deals. So I definitely want to get you guys connected because I think that's going to help you with your learning curve. Then the other thing is for you, Kristen, and anybody else, and we're running a little long, so we'll wrap up here soon. This has been so much fun. One of my favorite interviews ever is you want to have different marketing campaigns like Christian just said, you want to have an on-market campaign. So do an agent outreach campaign, but master the campaign you're doing right now. So you're doing seller outreach, you're building a team, you're doing marketing direct to sellers. Okay, great. Once you've got that and it's rocking and rolling, it's not much to increase your team and now have a cold caller and lead manager that are only doing agent outreach. They're doing an on-market campaign. And then you could also have someone doing just all FISBO kind of stuff. So you don't want all your eggs in one basket. Okay.
Agree 100%.
Yeah. So if you were to jump up on a rooftop and you had a captive audience, what advice would you like to give them if they were really hungry and ready to hear it and heed it and take action? What would your advice be?
If my one big takeaway would be, do not quit. Don't quit. It's going to be ups, it's going to be downs, and you're going to feel like you are like even the lowest of the low. But I'm telling you, if you push through, you will get through it. And it's not easy, but just don't quit, stick with it, persevere. And you just have to have that mentality, that gotta like get it done mentality. So that would be my big takeaway. And then of course,
I freaking love that. Love that. And then, as far as masterminds, coaches, mentors, how important has that been in your journey? You got to get a little plug for me.
No, it's true. It's huge. So you need to find out. Everybody, again, not every mastermind is going to be for everyone. So you need to find out what it is like. What is it that you're not comfortable with, so that somebody can help you with that, or what it's knowing yourself and knowing get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because and honestly, that's going to, the more you do that, the more fearless you're going to get. But you want people who are going to hold you accountable. What's
push.
Exactly. They make you figure it out. And when you do that, you're going to be a monster. You're going to be able to do anything. So even this wholesaling, while it's literally, if I had just started doing this in the beginning of my, when I started with real estate investing, I would be terrified, absolutely terrified. Everything that we were talking about, I know. You want to know what I don't, and talking to people, like I can talk to buyers, sellers, that's not a problem. Mine's more like, I had to talk to my lawyer to find out the technical, make sure I was filling out the contract right, and blah, blah, blah.
So this is a good point to end on, because I was just talking to one of my clients yesterday, and she has a lot of fear. And hey, Chris, deal, nice to join us. That's Christian's partner, and he's freaking a sales rock star. He's awesome, and they're both awesome human beings too. So you're gonna love connecting with them. But fear, frustration, and failure are part of the process of becoming successful in anything, not just real estate investing. Fear of facing the unknown, and all fear is you're uncertain of what the outcome's going to be, and you're afraid it's going to be a negative outcome. Excitement in the body is the same energy in the body, but it's anticipating a positive outcome. So one way to deal with fear is you take it one step at a time. And I was breaking this down for this client yesterday. I said, look, don't think about, I'm not ready to buy a rental, or I'm not ready to get that deal. I don't feel ready. Just think about putting it out there, what you're looking for, and having conversations with people who bring you deals. That's it. That's the next. First, put yourself out there, let people know what you're looking for. Then the next step's going to be, don't think, oh, they're bringing me deals. I can't get that deal. It's like, no, start to be curious and just take the next step. The next step is just to have a conversation with someone who might have a deal for you. And then think, okay, what do I need? I need more information. I need to do some research. I need to do my due diligence. I need to crunch the numbers. And if you don't know how to do that, you reach out to me, your coach, or you reach out to a friend who's got more experience than you. And you know, because the thing about real estate investing as a community is, yeah, everybody's competing for deals, but everybody's also super collaborative and helpful. So like if you beat someone out on a deal, unless there's cutthroat, there are cutthroat people, but the majority of people in this industry, and I know thousands and thousands of people across the states, want to help you when you're new, you know? So the fear is just take one step. Don't eat the elephant one bite at a time. You don't need to swallow it home. Then frustration is, oftentimes people get frustrated because they're either not on the right path for them. Like you're just like, this isn't the right fit for you. Like I see people really struggle in this. And then I see people like you that get their first deal in 3 months because they're people that just can't put the pieces together. They just don't have the mind or the capacity to organize themselves or take action. Frustration can also mean you're uncomfortable because you're learning something new and you see where you want to be and you realize you don't have the skills yet. You're not getting the result you want yet. And so you've just got to be patient, realize, oh, frustration. And that's why I love what Pace Morby says, you know, create chaos and break shit. That's how you're going to learn. And then failure. People who succeed are bigger failures than people that let failure stop them and then they give up. People who succeed have mastered failure.
Yes.
That's why they succeed.
Yep.
You know?
They're not afraid to fail. And then if you'll figure it out. As long as you have that mindset, you might go down and like the deal. Okay. So you lost money on the deal. There's another deal out there that maybe you could make double. And that's how you have to go about it. Like, this situation that I'm not even out of yet, terrible. But
It's
you want to know what? Yeah. So now I'm moving on.
All right. And so here are some things to consider. And I know you're probably already doing this when you are going through failure, like she is, like these 2 rehabs where friends betrayed her terribly and it's costing her hundreds of thousands of dollars. And look at her. Here she is. She's still alive. She's sitting on a couch. She's still got a roof over her head. She's got a daughter she loves, people who love her. She's in masterminds. She's bouncing back. She's doing more deals. The thing is, you are going to get more value out of your failures than you are your successes. And here's how you get value. If you're a victim mentality, it's like, oh man, why is this happening? Why is a terrible question to ask yourself. It's a never-ending cycle. Questions you want to ask, write these down, people, is, okay, what can I learn from this so that I never go through this again? Or what can I learn from this? What's the value in this right now? Because now you start to shift how you're dealing with that failure. Okay, and what are the gifts? Okay, what could I do differently next time? So that, and if I knew what I know now, what would I have done differently? Like really analyze it so that you get value out of it, so you don't repeat the same mistakes. Anything you want to say about that, Kristin?
Well, that's 100%. If you're getting something out of it, you're learning something. So in that regard, I always try to pull the silver lining out of it. That's the first thing. But the second thing is when I'm in the middle of something, this is just the way my mind works. I don't want to sit and dwell. We're in a bad situation. And this was the problem because this whole thing was being dragged out and I was so frustrated. I'm a problem solver. Like, I don't like, okay, I have the problem in front of me. I don't want to sit and whine about it. I want to figure it out and let's get past it. Let's figure it out. solve the problem. I don't want to hear about the problem. We know what we need to do. And my brain just, starts to figure out how are we going to get past it. And with this particular situation, my frustration was because they were lying to me about things. So I didn't know why is this? To me, I was so frustrated because I couldn't understand why was this taking so long? Well, they were lying to me. And it is, you feel like I felt like the harder I fought, I was in quicksand. The harder I fought, the deeper I was sinking. And until I figured it out, and from the time that I actually figured out what took place, my stress, because I know what I need to get through it. So as hard as it's been, the process,
it's like a big relief, even though it's bad news.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is trust yourself. Okay, look, be inspired by what everybody else is doing, but go at your own pace and trust yourself and trust your gut, trust your intuition. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, hey, I trusted my gut and it totally screwed me. Most of the time you hear people say, oh man, I should have trusted my gut and I didn't. And now this is what happened. Wouldn't you say?
100%.
Yeah.
But you do. You need to know what your capability. It is being in touch with yourself. A lot of it, you and I we're big on energy and vibes and things like that. But when you really know yourself and you like I said, I know I could get through it. But on the other end, I was like, wow, I'm really proud of myself because that was a lot. And I know a lot of people would have given up through this. So just know yourself, trust yourself, and believe in yourself. And I'm telling you.
Yeah. And just because you're going to a system like Fortune Builders or Pace Morby or some of these other trainings, you're still going to put your own spin on things. Be inspired by what other people are doing, but don't get brain dead and think, oh, got to do it this way. You've got to also be creative and go all right, some of these things are going to work for me and some aren't, and be able to, in the beginning, you want to follow a basic system. That's why Fortune Builders had such a great educational system, because it was really fundamental for brand new people. But like Sevelin's saying, trust but verify is the lesson I've learned. And Chris Steele's saying it's not how many times you get knocked down, but how many times you get knocked down and back up. Rocky, so it's trust your processes and systems, learn and implement. And the best way to do that is that for you analytical people, and speaking to you analytical engineers, scientists, and really analytical people who get analysis paralysis, this is for you. Learn one little thing and then go implement it and test it. Then come back and learn the next thing, implement it, test it. People get overwhelmed because you think you need to know everything. And then what that does is it stops you from taking any action because you've got too much information and you're overwhelmed with where to start. You will get more done. What gets things done is small, simple steps done every day. Today is all you've got. Today, what you choose to do, how you choose to be, what actions you choose to take creates tomorrow and yesterday simultaneously. So it's just break it down into small. I have this thing, I call it the power of small action plan. Small, simple little steps, day in and day out.
And then it just becomes like a cycle. It's like you don't even think about it that you're doing, and it does have to be learn, implement. I learn every day. So if I waited to implement, if I
and what's and what's great about that is you will be blown away when you start to do this power of small action plan. Learn and implement, and you track it. That's why KPIs are so important. Or even just a journal, or noting it in your calendar, or doing a spreadsheet, and you look back. It's amazing how much you can accomplish in 1 week, and then another week, and then you look back in a month and you're blown away. So I've started doing something with my clients, and that is when I said to Rose Lopez, she wants to acquire about 2 or 3 rentals. She's looking at duplexes, 3plexes, and 4plexes, by the way, and she's in the Chicago area. So you may be wholesaling. So put Rose on your buyer's list.
Oh, Rose and I are friends.
Yeah.
Come see one of the
Yeah. So when I just lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Implementing and learning.
Implementing, yeah. Oh, thanks. So Rose and I, we figured out she wants to just do rental. She's retired. She doesn't need to do the grind. She's got her goals. And, and I said, all right, look, I want you to go watch the rental property curriculum in Fortune Builders. I said, it's like about 10 hours. It's not a big deal. And I said, and I'll tell you what, for accountability, I'm going to go through it again too. I'm going to go through it with you, and then we're going to talk about it on our next coaching call. That totally worked. She did it, but Rose is an action taker. So she did it. And I thought, wow, I love this. So now I'm doing that with Gator Lending. Of course, I'm doing it with Pace Morby. I'm like, okay. And I'm getting some of my clients. I'm like, okay, look, I want you to get Gator Lending. This is going to generate cash flow for you quickly. And we're going to go through the course together. Or I'll say with a client, look, you go through that course. I'm going to go through this course. And then we're going to talk about it together. So leverage a buddy, hire a coach, put yourself on the edge, be uncomfortable, plan things out in your calendar. I have this thing, you're the boss of your calendar, but then your calendar is your boss. That, like, I don't even do sticky notes anymore. It's just like, put it on your calendar, schedule a doctor's appointment or grocery shopping, Walmart run, whatever it is. Yep. So these systems and processes and accountability and partnership and just small actions, learn, implement. That's what's made you successful, Kristin. Yeah, you're coming out of a difficult thing, but I really, if I don't leave you with anything else here, I want you to really hear me and Kristin, that your goals need to be way bigger, girl. Because I just mapped out 375,000 gross for you without you having to do that. You're closing a couple wholesales a month and you're acquiring those 3 rentals. If all you do, that's 375 gross.
All right.
I mean, come on, you can do better.
Put me on the books for, all right, put me on the books.
Put this on your books.
600,000.
All right, 600,000 between what Kristin's challenging you, 1.2 million, and what I'm challenging, 600K. And then here's the thing, figure out, like, do the numbers, do that. Okay. So think about 50 conversations, 25 offers, 1 deal. It might be a little more than that in today's market, but let's just use those as the KPIs. Okay. And you've got to, then you work backwards. Okay. If I'm going to do 600K, that means 600K. That means I've got to do, 50K a month to do 600K. Okay. So if I need to do 50K a month, then that means I need to close 4 wholesales, or I need to, do a flip every quarter and make sure there's plenty of meat on the bones in this kind of market. Or no, I need to acquire 6 rentals this year, whatever it is. You start to then work backwards from that 600K. Like, all right, how is that going to work? How, so you can see the reality of it, how doable it is, just like I did with you. If you're doing 2 wholesales and you're going to make 15K, that's 30K a month. That right there times 12 is 360K, and you're shooting for 150. It's ridiculous.
No, you're absolutely right. Cause I never really thought about it in terms, I had my goals. I know that 15,000 is the minimum. That's what and then 2 to 3, but I never thought, okay, all right,
so let's do 4. If you do 4 wholesales every month, then it'll take a little while to get there because you're going to have to figure out what the volume is. But let's just say it's 50K per deal. That means you need to be making in order to close 4 deals, you need to be talking to 200 sellers and making 100 offers every month.
Mm-hmm. And that's not a problem because we really shoot for, like for Gianna and I, and again, still training her, but I shoot for at least like 20 a day.
So you could hit 600K just closing 4 wholesales a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why also too, because I want to, it's all about, and I told Gianna, you got to get offers out there. Like, just like, even if you think they're too low, put them out there.
You do. Because I hear absolutely. Yep. I have coached clients where they were the 7th offer and ended up getting the deal.
Yeah. No,
The thing is, offers is what gets you deals. Thinking about it, wishing, looking at properties, but never making offers. You aren't going to get deals if you aren't making offers. So make offers. And you're not committed until that offer gets accepted. There's nothing binding about
well, and then there's always a
that. You
contingency.
can still
if it's
cancel it. Yeah.
Exactly. And
So
that's why
don't let fear stop you. The way you're going to overcome fear is just take these steps, the next step, the next step. So Kristin, we just figured out 600K.
let's do it.
4 wholesales a month at 15K each.
Yep.
There's your 600K. So you really need to go bigger.
All right. I'll do it. Trust me, I'll
So
do it. If
just
that's
in
my
one
goal, I'll get it
conversation,
done.
we've gone from, I didn't think about the income. I
Well,
want to do
'cause I never-
150. Or like, you're not doing 150 to 360. And now we just figured out 600. So if you get those 3 wholesales, and let's just say conservatively, you're making 300 each. So you're really going to be doing like 620
Oh.
at least.
Piece of cake. I'll do it. Well, I'll report back too.
Yeah. Stay in touch.
Accountability.
Yes, absolutely. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've gone on
Way
long
over.
enough. We've gone way over, but it's been so much fun. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for being my guest, Kristin and Chris Steele. Yeah, you guys need to get in here for my for the Wednesday. I want to interview you guys each separately. So I think we're scheduling into, we might have February already booked out. I think we're scheduling in March. So noon Eastern, which you guys are Mountain Time. So it would be 10 a.m. Mountain Time on a Wednesday. So I'm going to have my VA Rose reach out to Chris Steele and Christian Weatherspoon and get you guys into my podcast for Wednesdays, because you're always here anyway, Christian. You might as well be one of my guests for a change. Okay. Okay, Chris is Pacific time. So just deduct 3 hours. So it would be 9 a.m. for you, Chris. I'd love to. Okay, great. All right, Kristin, I just adore you. I'm so glad we reconnected. Let's definitely stay in touch and keep the love going and flowing. Reach out if you need anything. I know you're in good shape with your masterminds. I'll get you introduced to Chris Steele and Christian, because I think you need those eagles in your flock. And yeah. And then the next time you're on my podcast guest, you're going to be in the top 5 percenters. You're going to be on the Wednesday podcast.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
so much. I appreciate it. And you know how special you are to me too. Like we bonded.
I was your first coach. Yeah.
You
There you
sure
go.
were. I know. So
All right, love.
Happy
Bye,
New Year,
everybody. We'll be posting this in a bunch of groups. If you know someone who's a rock star like Kristin, who's on the rise, please let me know. Reach out to me, put some comments in the comments, or reach out to me in a DM. If you'd like to be a member spotlight and you'd like to be interviewed and maybe even coached a little bit on these Friday groups, like we did a little bit of coaching today. And then if you know someone who's a rock star, like totally an inspirational success story in real estate, please let me know and we can invite them to the Wednesday podcast for the top 5 percenters. So everyone, thank you so much for hanging in there with, this was a long one, but juicy and awesome. And love you, Kristin. Thanks everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy
Love
New
you
Year.
all. Bye.